Welcome back to Embracing New Life, the podcast that seeks to stand at the intersections of discussions on mental health, the church, and faith. And on this week's episode, we are diving into part 2 of our interview with Debbie Fisher. If you missed the first part of this interview, we'd encourage you to go back to last week and reference that. Otherwise, if you've seen it and you're ready, then we welcome you to this week's podcast and we hope that you enjoy it.
While you're doing this type of work, do you ever feel a pressure that you're supposed to be the referee and declare which one of the couple is right?
Feel the pressure? Yes. Succumb to the pressure? I try really hard not to. Really hard not to. Because this isn't a battleground. This isn't a fight. Yes, they can try to fight, but I'm going to shut down the fight. Because that's what's getting them stuck in the first place. That's part of the problem. So it's like being in a lab, kind of, you know. I get to see what's going on outside of session and then work with them on how to change the way they're interacting with each other. Now, in that, it might require some deep healing work, some trauma work. I do that with the couples, with the spouse present, because I do believe there's healing in relationship. We are not islands.
That's right.
I mean, I am an individual therapist as well. I love working with individuals. But there's so much power when I'm doing some really deep, whether it's inner child work or whatever it is, parts work or whatever, with one of the spouses and the other one is a witness to it. There is a tremendous amount of healing that happens, and understanding where their spouse is coming from, why they're hurting, that they're not, you know, possibly they're not intending to hurt you. This is just what they know and why they know that. I mean, it can be incredibly powerful.
Well, yeah, and the interesting thing about including both of them in that process is in that deep, vulnerable spot, you're actually providing an opportunity for them to connect in a safe way that's like they haven't before.
Exactly.
Know? So, it can be powerful on both sides, or for both of them,
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
It's awesome.
We've mentioned on the podcast many times that in order to connect, we have to be vulnerable, but it's dangerous to be vulnerable. We're talking about safety right now.
Yeah.
What are some things that you do in your couples work to facilitate safety? Safety for each person to become vulnerable with the other.
So that's a really good question. One thing that I do is I do interrupt a lot. And I will tell the couples that I will interrupt a lot. And it's not out of disrespect. It's because I want to shut down going into a direction that, one, is the same old, but two, that could be harmful to either one of them. So I want to shut that down. I want them to know that I'm there to support them. I'm there to help them. I'm there so that they don't continue to hurt each other. Having said that, it's very easy to hurt each other, even when you're not trying to hurt each other. And, you know, perception has a lot to do with that too.
Totally, yeah.
But I'm there to help them do that. And that typically has been very helpful, that they have been safe. Also, I don't want to rush anybody into being vulnerable when they're not ready to be vulnerable. I make that very clear too. And another thing that I will tell clients, if I ask you a question or we're going to do, you know, I suggest that we do something. If you don't want to do it, tell me no, we don't have to do that. You are the one in charge of that. I'm not going to push anyone faster than they want to go or further than they're ready to go. I have too much respect for people to do that. So I think that can provide that sense of safety as well.
For sure. Yeah.
Good. Yes, sometimes I will even instruct a couple, don't talk about what we talked about in here, it's so raw, until we're back together again in this place.
Yeah.
And I think we all see many times couples will find that the counseling room is a safe place they look forward to being able to come back into.
Yeah.
And then they can learn how to have that safety
Right.
in other places.
Right.
Yeah.
I tell when I'm working, with individuals, working with trauma or whatever, and with couples, if something comes up between session and it's overwhelming, or you want to talk to your partner about it but you don't know how, put it in a box with my name on it and put the lid on the box and bring it into session, and then that is a safe place that we can unpack that and deal with that. And I'll have I had a client this week that's like, Debbie, I couldn't wait for today. I have a lot in my box. I just kept putting stuff in my box. I'm like, good, that's great.
But even that sense of safety increases when I realize, I can actually do that.
Yeah.
And not only can I contain it, but I can also bring it out and deal with it.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't realize they can do that. And maybe partly because you see they're stuffing it, sweeping it under the rug. Not a healthy containment where it's okay to not deal with this right now, but to deal with that in an appropriate time and situation. Which I also teach couples to do that with each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if it's a heated, they're getting heated about something because, it happens. Then, to take those breaks, and I'll teach them how to do a healthy timeout. Take those breaks, but then to come back and talk about it. And we talk about what does that mean and how long do you wait and all of that. We navigate through that. But part of what continues the argument for many couples is the fear that we are never going to come back and talk about it, or if we do, it's going to be another brawl.
Or I found too that what perpetuates the cycle is that almost without exception, I can't think of any couples that I've worked with where this was different, but there's always a pursuer and a distancer. So there's somebody that just desperately wants to fix and reconnect as quickly as possible. And then there's usually somebody who just needs more time to process and figure stuff out. And I've seen that perpetuate the cycle because somebody's just like, they're just like the dog following you around, until the other person breaks down and they finally do it. And then it's the same cycle, And so, the pause to say, like, to give this person time to process and calm down, and also give this person time to calm down, but also know that the pause isn't just a pause and sweep it under the rug, but we are going to come back together and talk about this. We're not just doing what we've done historically. We're just trying to get out of the crazy cycle and do it in a healthier way.
Absolutely. Yeah. I will say I have worked with clients who are both distancers.
Sure. Yeah.
And I have had both pursuers. So, there is a lot of variety in there. But I do think I am guessing that is the most common, is the pursuer and distancer. And why wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
We fit together like
exactly.
that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a phrase that we often think about with children, a timeout. Could you share with us how you would use a timeout with a couple?
Sure.
And sort of like, what are the ground rules with a couple?
Sure. So the timeout I use is really from Terry Reel's work. I know, no surprise. I like his therapy.
Good stuff.
He does. He has got really good couples therapy, relational life therapy, which is really the framework that I use.
Yes.
And so his timeout is, and this might be a little nuanced from me using it from exactly what he says, but one, whoever recognizes that things are kind of getting out of hand, and it might not be you getting out of hand, doesn't matter, but whoever recognizes it, take the time out. Use the timeout sign like in sports, or say I need a timeout, whichever works. Then the conditions that are understood with that timeout is you both go your separate corners, wherever that may be, bedroom, car, wherever that is, for about 15 minutes. Could be 20 minutes. And in that time, you're both doing what you need to do to, one, calm down, two, think about, okay, what's gotten me all riled up? How can I come back to this conversation in a healthy way? How can I listen to my partner and understand where they're coming from? So, we work on, individually what that looks like. And then come back. Now, I think I differ from Terry on this one, where I'll say if it's been 15 minutes, then you guys can have a conversation if you both feel that you're in a headspace to have that conversation.
Yeah.
But whoever takes the time out is the one that comes back. They're the one that checks in with the other person.
Most definitely.
They took it, they're coming. And the other piece that's important, when you say you need a timeout, you say, I need a timeout. You don't say you need a timeout.
Very important.
Yes, do
Yes.
not ever say that.
Uh,
I need the timeout. So then you come back and check in with the other person. You know, I would really like to talk about this. How are you doing? Is that okay? And if it's okay, then you continue that conversation.
Totally.
If not, then, or if you are the one taking the time out, if you are too upset about it, you check in after the 15 minutes and say, I need more time. I will check in with you, and you double it in a half an hour.
mm-hmm.
And you do the work that you need to do. Now, if you're taking a half an hour, you come back and you're not going to talk about the situation. What you're going to say is, okay, tomorrow we need to sit down and talk about this. So what works good for you? And you guys come up with a time the next day within 24 hours to talk about that. Or as soon as you can. I mean, you know, within that, you know, if someone's going to be out of town, it won't be 24 hours. But,
yeah.
you know, as you can, because then you are confident that at some point you're going to talk about it.
Yep.
And then, and you can talk about it with cooler heads. Ideally, then you can continue on with your night together because you know you're going to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't live in an ideal world. I don't know about you. That can be challenging. Yet, at the same time, knowing we are going to talk about it, so I can put that on the shelf and, you know, do what I need to do tonight. And I don't have to be snippy with you or upset. Yeah.
So I heard a couple of really important features there. One was the one who recognizes we're escalating, this is going the wrong direction. That doesn't mean I'm escalating, but we.
Yeah.
And I need a timeout.
Yes.
I don't mention anything about you.
Yes.
Second, identify when I'm going to come back. Third, I come back when I say I will.
Yes, exactly.
So important.
Yes. I'll tell people, you know, set a timer on your phone.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, because don't do like I did with my kids. I would put one of my kids on a timeout. They'd end up falling asleep. I totally forget. An hour later, there they are sitting, sleeping wherever they were. I felt terrible. Don't do that. Don't do that. Learn from my mistake. A timer is a good reminder.
So I've noticed some couples are very fearful that if we do this, we'll never come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once, though, that they've gone through the process, they start to realize, oh, this is really helpful.
Yeah. Another thing, too, is the person who, what we would call the pursuer, the one who is really afraid that you're not going to come back. The spouse is taking the time out. Oh, they're not going to come back. So they're waiting and waiting and waiting. You know, 14 minutes has gone by. Oh, they're not going to come back. And so then they pursue. Then they go in. Like, they'll set your timer. You need to trust that they are going to come back, and you let them come back. And if they don't, that's on them, and we've got more work to do. Yeah.
But it's a good illustration of how threatening that disconnection is for people.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know.
Oh, sure.
Because, I mean, you think about 15, even 30 minutes. I mean, not that long, but just the drive to have to reconnect.
Right.
You know, it's just so
Right.
powerful.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Right. And the anxiety just goes up and up and up and up and up. So to your point, Dan, too, I think once couples do this a few times and see, wow, I really can trust that you'll come back, and I really can remember to come back, then it works really well. And it does do a lot in changing the dynamic of the relationship.
Yeah, it's a more enjoyable process than it was.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
That increases a sense of safety in the relationship.
Yeah.
Many couples are terrified that if it's not resolved right now, something horrible will happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you see that, because it is common,
Sure.
what are some things that you do in those kind of situations?
Well, one thing, like, what would be so horrible? What is it that you're anticipating is going to happen? Often when that comes out of their mouth, then it's like, oh, I guess that's not so bad. Right. That can also open up deeper wounds.
Mhm.
You know,
Yep.
often childhood wounds. It could be wounds from a previous relationship. I mean, it could be lots of things.
Uh-huh.
That can open that up, which is a really great opportunity to do some healing work.
Mhm.
So that's incredibly beneficial. Being able to just kind of navigate that, and even being able to share those concerns with their spouse there, so their spouse may have the opportunity, if it's accurate, to alleviate those fears. And it
Mhm.
might not be, that they might be accurate. I mean, their fear might be valid. And for their spouse to know that, to speak to that and recognize, oh yeah, I do that. Okay, I'm going to try really hard not to do that. That's really good work in session for us to do. And then that can alleviate some of those. It's, you know, and it's okay if you feel nervous about that, or
Yes.
if you're not trusting.
Yeah.
That's completely okay. Why would you?
Uh-huh.
This is something new. This is something different.
Uh-huh.
So there is that level of anxiety that is just going to be normal. So I do want to normalize that with people.
Mhm.
Also, the other thing I talk a lot about too is not expecting perfection.
Yeah.
Because there will be a lot of, well, we did it this one time, but she did this and he did that. I'm like, well, we go to our default. We need to rewire our brains. That takes time. It's not a one and done by any means.
Takes a long time.
So we need to have grace for one another and recognize nobody's going to do this perfectly.
No.
No,
Not
we
at
don't.
all.
Uh-huh.
One of my favorite stories is with Susan Johnson, who was a marriage and family therapist, you know, big in our world.
Mhm.
I was doing one of her trainings, and I love what she said. She said that she and her husband were having a moment, you know, a not great moment.
Uh-huh.
And she said, the therapist inside of her was saying, don't say it. Don't say it. You're going to regret it. Don't say it. And she said it. And she said, and I regretted it. She's like, even though I do this for a living, been doing this for 30, 40 years, I fall into those traps too. We all do. We all do. It's not about perfection.
No.
It's about, you know, being imperfect and loving each other though we're imperfect.
Yeah. The normalization is just so important, you know, because we all feel like, we're the only couple that struggles with this, you know.
Right.
And it's like, nah, we're all cut from the same cloth.
Yeah,
you know? So
right.
I like to encourage people with the reminder that the vast majority of our processing with our brain happens subconsciously. There's just so little that we are aware of, that if you're thinking about the weight of all of that subconscious processing and all the neural networks that are already laid down, that your brain just naturally follows when a trigger occurs, that you're fighting against years, if not decades of conditioning that is, you just got to be patient and kind and compassionate to yourself and work it like you would if you had a goal of running an ultra marathon. You have to put in the time and the effort to be able to do it. But with dedication and intentionality, you can get to a different pattern.
Yeah.
It just takes a lot of time.
Right.
And to normalize that, because like a lot of people, we live in a society, right? If I have a credit card and an Amazon Prime account, I can have almost anything to my house in 2 days, maybe even today if I hit it perfectly.
Right.
So we're just so conditioned to like, I can get it almost instantaneously.
Yeah.
That human growth and development does not occur that way.
Yeah.
It is just a slow process. And to normalize that for them and the fact that, hey, fighting's normal and it's just going to take time to do this differently is, I mean, helpful to me. Hopefully it's helpful to them too.
Yeah.
Embracing New Life is a production of New Life Resources, a Christian counseling clinic in Southeast Wisconsin, whose aim and goal since 1976 has been to provide high-quality professional counseling, psychological, and consulting services from within a Christian framework.